What's up everyone? In today's tutorial we're going to talk about problem shooting your hookah. Now, you may be wondering, you've smoked it maybe say yesterday and it wasn't really getting the smoke, the quality of it was all just messed up and it wasn't good. You could have been experiencing maybe little clouds to just maybe not as really milky clouds, really harsh hits for some reason. The taste of your hookah may have been just like really coal taste, even if you're using like all natural coconut coals. You have maybe a really condensed draw or even a really open draw, like something like just really open, like you're not even getting smoke. That's how open it is. What other kind of hookah hiccups are there? I don't know, maybe it's just your hookah isn't working properly, so I'm just gonna run you guys through like what I generally do if my hookah isn't smoking right, like it was a couple days ago. It wasn't really producing the clouds that I wanted, and it wasn't really producing the taste of my shisha. It was really just harsh and coal taste. There's two really big ways that you can tell if your hookah is leaking. One, it deals with the bowl. Even if you haven't overpacked your bowl, usually when I find a leak somewhere, the foil of my bowl always gets sucked in. It divots in really crazy, and it just has this weird sound, just like a really just not a really pleasant sound. You can't really even hear the gargle of the hookah. So if you can't really hear your hookah gargling properly, it's just really weird. Another thing, your hose port, if you do say you can still get some smoke with your hookah, it's probably not that big of a leak. And you can get it to the consistency of like a nice milky white color. You could possibly see, if you purge, you can possibly see if the smoke is coming out of the top of the bowl here, or if it's coming out of the hose port at the top. That was what my hookah was doing, actually. I do have my hose in it already, but... So you're just going to want to assemble your hookah, which I have already done. And we're going to test out your base grommet here. Just your base grommet. So we're going to take out the purge housing and the little BB that comes with yours. This isn't the traditional BB that came with mine. It was actually a lot bigger, and it was plastic, so I just didn't feel like doing that. Didn't want a plastic fucking BB in my hookah. So we're going to test out the base grommet here. I don't recommend putting water in the hookah for doing this, as long as you can just hear some air coming out, then you know that that's what's wrong. So we're going to cover the purge in the hose port, and we are going to blow down into the hookah from the top. So if you do have your bowl on, just take your bowl off. Really, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's working perfectly fine. No loss of air in there. I blew down and perfectly fine. Now we're going to test your purge port here. So you're gonna want to inspect your BB and make sure that there's no real lopsided areas, and you're gonna make sure that it sits quite nicely in the little purge port. It looks good. There's no little air pocket things, no little areas where air could get sucked in or escape necessarily. So we're just gonna put this back on here. So say your base grommet was completely fucked up. You put it back, you bought a new one, you put it on there, and you tested it out like 5 seconds ago, and it works perfectly fine. Now we're going to test the purge port by doing the same exact thing with the BB in there. We're going to cover the hose port, and we're going to suck in this time. Because if we suck in and there's air getting sucked in, it's your hose port here, or your purge port here. So this is completely fine. You bought a new one, you're good to go, you've tested it out. Now we're going to test out the purge. So just going to be sucking in this time. Hand on the hose port, sucking in. Okay, works perfectly fine. Everything's good to go. Let's just test one more time. Yep, everything's perfectly fine. Just wanted to double check. That was scary. So the purge port is perfectly fine. Now, let's say your BB was totally just messed up, totally fucked up, not repairable. You had to go buy a new one, or you may have found one lying around, like I did, and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna test out the hose port now. This is what we're gonna test out. So you are gonna use your hose for this, because just putting your lips on the hose port and sucking in doesn't do shit. People do that and they're like, oh, well, your hose port works now. No, we're testing out the grommets, everyone. The grommets. Alright, so make sure your okay, so let's say you feel like it's your hose port. Your grommet that you use regularly when you smoke, you want to plug that into your freaking hookah and just make sure when you do test it that grommet is defective, and you can just throw that thing away and never think about it again. So again, we're going to test out the hose and the hose port. So we're going to test our hose, make sure this isn't the reason why our hookah isn't smoking properly. Alright, so works perfectly fine. Now if you did have a hole somewhere in your hose, you know, you might just want to throw it away, or you could try to find it and possibly fix it for like a smoke session or two. Like say if it was right here, you could just put some electrical tape on there, but you're just gonna have to freaking get a new hose. That's why this one has a red tip on it. You can still keep your tips from your washable hoses, so that's kind of cool. We're just gonna plug this bad boy in. So, and let's say that you couldn't replace your BB like I was saying. You're just gonna want to put one hand on the purge, and one hand where the bowl would regularly go. And we're just going to be sucking in with our lips, essentially. Suck in. Alright, works perfectly fine. We can do it with the BB in there, just so I could show you what I'm talking about. So let's say your purge port was completely messed up, and you got a new ball, and then you tested it out, and it worked perfectly fine. Now we could just test the hose again. So, works perfectly fine. Don't forget to test the don't forget to put this on your hookahs, though. Alright, works perfectly fine with the purge port. You can test the bowl, but I never had a problem with any of that, so I just don't test it. But what you guys can do is you could put your bowl grommet on there, and then you can put your bowl. Make sure it's not too big of a bowl, because you're going to need to be able to cover it. So if it's like a vortex bowl or something, like that would be a little bit harder. A funnel bowl would be pretty easy, and Egyptian clay bowl, it needs to be smaller. You don't want a large Egyptian clay bowl on there, because it's going to be a little bit harder to cup around it. So if you are to check your hose works perfectly fine, and you checked everything's working perfectly fine. You want to check your bowl. You would just cup it. So let's just say this is my bowl. This little dinky little thing would be my bowl, essentially, with the grommet on there, and you're just going to suck in. So let's say you experienced some type of air getting sucked in. Now it could be either the grommet or the bowl. So I would really recommend going and buying the grommet first, because it's going to be a little bit cheaper than buying a whole new bowl. And if you're still experiencing some type of like air loss, it's most likely your bowl. Make sure you're cupping it good too. Make sure you're not getting, if you feel air brushing passing your hands when you're sucking in, then you're probably not sealing it properly. Make sure that it's not that big of a bowl, and it's pretty easy to just to seal. So hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. I don't want you to have a bad smoke session, because it just really sucks. That's what my old hookah totally just fucking broke. There's a Caravan hookah. the hose port totally just fucking totally took a shit. Yeah. But now I got this new Caravan hookah, so I'm quite happy with it. Anyways, you guys, keep on smoking hookah. Have a nice day. Whoa.